absolutely not meant to face Bomb Warrior. This deck, what a disastrous scenario for Pavel to have run into in the mirror, and obviously a lot more of the value cards cut for cards like Augmented Relic. However, with him running into Pavel here, not playing Bomb Warrior, and I believe his first series was up against... as we're probably in the spectator game there.
I'm going to hope that's a spectator game. Even though
he was up against a Hunter, I believe, in his first series of the day. Either way, he curved out very well. It was Orange, wasn't it, that he was up against?
Yeah, it was against Orange.
That's right. He curved out very beautifully against Orange and really just didn't give him much of a chance.
Orange also had, I think, pretty subpar hands.
He did.
He actually tweeted out yesterday, Orange did, that he didn't get to play Hearthstone yesterday.
He really did not.
That's going to happen sometimes. That's any card game you play. Sometimes you're just not going to get cards, and your opponent's going to get the perfect cards, and you're going to lose. That's part of the game. But that's also part of bringing Bomb Warrior, is that draw the right cards than Hunter does to draw the right cards and have very decisive victories.
So Grandmasters is that we are playing a long style of game where it's double round robin. Players have to play against each other twice just in the first season. So that kind of variance will level out, especially if you are bringing the correct techs and decks every single week.
Casey's got double Elic and Clockwork Goblin in hand, and that's a fantastic start. Pavel's opening hand cost 0 mana, and he couldn't use the cards.
Casie hits the bombs into Blastmaster Boom. He's 3 for 3 now.
I'm curious. I was about to say, I'm curious if he levels out with a second Elic here and goes, you know what? You better have it.
I was honestly considering that. It walks into
big Wild Pyro
Forbidden
turn.
Words, or yeah, big Wild Pyro turn, as one of the bombs comes right off the top there. Pretty fortunate for Pavel again, because Blastmaster Boom summons more boom bots the more bombs are in your opponent's deck.
This is going to get ugly quick.
Especially as Pavel's hand, we haven't even mentioned, sucks.
To put it mildly.
It's terrible. He hasn't found Wild Pyro, Acolyte of Pain, or most importantly of all, Gadgets and Auctioneer.
And not really any way to defend himself.
He could play like his entire hand.
Look, it looks silly. It looks very silly, but the whole purpose of the deck is to slam Gadgets and Auctioneer and draw your deck.
If he gets Auctioneer, this is insane. He plays his entire hand pretty much and cycles through most of his deck.
The turn of truth.
That ain't it. That's something. That's not a bad card to have found, but he has no way to damage it himself.
Do you seance it? You also have 10 cards in hand. All right. Officially the first turn of the game for Pavel is taking place.
Oh, man.
Look, he took a risk coming in to this week.
Right.
Well, knew he was going to have his back up against the wall if he played Warrior. If he played Rogue, that was the bread and butter.
Just didn't hit it.
It's a risk versus reward scenario. And I've often heard Pavel, when I've had the chance to sit with him and discuss Hearthstone strategy, gotten a lot of insight into how he's built his tournament lineups in the past. He's told me that a lot of times in tournaments, his major goal is to take advantage of players making a mistake in what decks they bring. Not necessarily trying to take advantage of the best things that are out there or be balanced. He's trying to hope someone made an error and he gets a big payoff.
Speaking of a big payoff, this is where his deck finally starts to come together. We could see Wild Pyro, Northshire Cleric, Spell, anyone, then Circle of Healing. That will draw him 4 cards, hopefully finding him the Gadget-san.
He's got to get moving.
Right now.
Do you like to play with fire?
So he's taking into account hand size.
Yes,
with
that's the big
Northshire
concern.
Cleric. So Spell first, then Northshire Cleric, then Circle of Healing.
Okay, I like it. Obviously, at this point, overdrawing either Chef Nomi or Seance would be pretty bad. Or, obviously, Gadgets and Auctioneer would be one of the worst overdraws as well.
That puts him to 9 cards in hand.
So he could have gone for it first, but, I mean, I guess he didn't want to expend anything else. I don't know, turbo drawing through his deck as quick as possible
Divine
sounds
Hymn.
pretty good.
Nice interaction with Topsy-Turvy here. Restore extra health.
Absolutely the way to go for it here.
Divine Hymn, 2 more cards.
Perfect. He can go for Regenerate for just 1 more card, just to find that Gadgets and Auctioneer. He needs it.
He's clearing out board position in the meantime as well.
He's not using Regenerates on his face, though, which is a little scary. He's playing the doubled Divine Hymn version of the deck, which makes it less important.
There's the Nomi. 11 cards to go to get there. Still 2 Auctioneers in the deck, still an Acolyte in the deck, and a Wild Pyromancer loaded in hand with plenty of zero-cost spells. Also still in the deck, 2 Grave Harbors that are sitting there. So Casie has yet to draw one of the brawls, and if he cannot start filling Pavel's deck with bombs, he is not going to be in good shape. I mean, it's a tough matchup, but one single situation like this one can turn everything around.
It can indeed. However, while things are starting to swing back in Pavel's favor, they could start to go wrong yet again once the Nomi turns roll around, because when you're playing specifically Bomb Warrior and your opponent has no cards in their deck, each of your bomb cards is just deal 5 damage to your opponent tacked on.
Battlecry, deal 5.
I'd play that card.
Battlecry, Mind Blast.
I'd play that card.
Casie going for just the laser here and pass. This is a heed directly to Pavel having his deck full of things like Lazul's Scheme, Forbidden Words. It's harder to use those cards.
And this is a pretty big divergence from Casey's standard style of play, which is just to play very quickly, throw your things out on the board, kill your opponent as fast as you can, even when playing this Bomb Warrior. But I think it's a good time to slow down for him here, realizing he just doesn't have to play too quickly anymore.
What? Silence the Wild Pyro to restore it to a 3-2. Power Word Shield to draw a card.
Those are world champ plays right there.
It's strange looking, but he's also, you know, Casie being at 60 health right now with 7 more to come. The Chef Nomi does not load up 60 damage at once. Like, fatigue starts to set in. That's something you have to consider.
Yeah, and being able to, say your opponent Chef Nomi's, being able to just play Blastmaster Boom and not die, those are the kind of situations where you can win even in that late stage of the game.
The other thing, too, is being able to set up for 5 Warpaths on the following turn. There's a lot that goes into it. Good where point. Casie, if Pavel has to rely on Auctioneer, can attempt to leave Auctioneer alive to limit Pavel's plays, lest he take more fatigue damage. There's some strange types of counterplay that require a great deal of experience, specifically in this matchup, or a very keen understanding of how to visualize and then solve those problems.
So now for Casie, even having not found any more of his bomb cards, he's saying, you know what, a classic Dr. Boom will do just fine for me. The Boombots have a rush as well.
Will it do?
It shall.
Just a Dr. Boom, I guess. And Pavel now has been stripped of ways to draw cards, and that could be troublesome.
It's got to be said as well, considering how bad most games go when both of your Auctioneers are in the bottom 7 cards at least of your deck, they usually look a lot worse than this.
Oh, yeah.
He's done a very good job of making this game even somewhat palatable with his Chef Priest.
For the face, I think you're pretty happy to see right now. You have time to heal it up. You know you're going to be on a Forbidden Words this turn anyway.
It's a 7 mana Shadow Word there, and he's happy about it.
What else are you going to do with that mana?
Yeah.
You're going to play all your 0-cost cards? Wise choice here from Casie.
Now the Dynamite is coming out.
Foregoes the hero power for development and a clean clear here. I think it's wise. So Pavel now with Northshire Cleric, 1 circle of healing left. I think the time is nigh. You really need to get this active.
It just has to be.
So again, have to account for hand size and what that actually looks like.
Do you like to play with fire?
Is someone injured?
Risks the Boombot. No other option. Wild Pyro gone,
That's
but
fine.
3 cards coming.
That's perfectly fine.
So I'm thinking Grave Harbor Auctioneer might be pretty close to ideal in these draws. There's the Grave Harbor. There's an Auctioneer.
He gets nigh on every card. There's still a bomb in his deck as well, I believe.
Casie just has a lot of life to work with. I'm curious if Pavel actually... Does he have a chance where maybe he can seance up the Grave Harbors to try and pressure? Or is he risking too
Very
much
much
that
worth
way?
considering. Casie is running 1 copy of Brawl, which very much more allows you, gives you much more allowance to go for Grave Horror into Seance.
Topsy-turvy with
about just dying though.
Topsy-turvy with Lazul's scheme offers up a very nice 1-2 punch with this Gadgetzan Auctioneer. The deck is now empty for Pavel, which opens him to the Chef Nomi, but he has an Auctioneer in play.
Right. And this is where Casie can quite happily just leave the Auctioneer up.
3 cards coming for Casie on the Weapons Project top deck. And finds the brawl.
Still no bomb cards, however. These cards are pretty weak at just killing your opponent.
But he's got 69 health. That's a pretty nice life total to be at when you're talking about playing against a Nomi Priest.
I agree. As here we go. The Nomi Seance comes down. This is what the deck is all about.
Pavel cannot afford to clear off the 4-4, which leaves Casie opportunities to land Brawl.
Here we go.
If he lands this Brawl successfully, that's how Pavel is in most trouble.
He never wins this. You never win this.
You never lose here. Casie wins the 1-8 Brawl, and now the counter pressure on Pavel is of major significance.
I'm done.
Wrench Caliber found with Alec in hand. Pavel down to 19. He's going to go down to 17. He's going to play Chef Nomi. And that's a lot of Demahe, as Derek put it earlier. That's coming in.
He's just dead. He's just dead. The swing from the Wrench Caliber, the 2 bombs that comes when you play it with Augmented Alec, and the fatigue. That's game.
Pavel was so close. And that successful brawl completely changed the landscape.
Yeah.
That being said, I think Casie still gets there with the sequence of draws.
I agree. I agree.
But it was so easy for him when he won that 1-8 brawl. I think he just has the life total to get there.
Quite obviously, to make your bad matchups good, it's less so to make your good matchups better, I think, because you're already favored in those. You want to tech for the possibilities where you're behind. And therefore, I feel like all the matchups that suck are still going to be bad when he switches over to his secondary and tertiary deck. I feel like something more drastic had to be done. I'm talking like, for example, some of the players have teched in test subject plus, I can't remember the exact combo you go for, but basically it allows you to generate infinite seances by going with the test subject and then copying your test subject and then playing seances and all that nonsense.
I know what you're referring to, but it's just those decks always elude me in terms of understanding them quickly.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of matchups I need to practice to be able to understand. And that's a deck that requires an exceptional amount of time to really dig deep and understand and master from, a true in-depth perspective. For the most part, I tend to get the grasp of those decks and move on. But I know what you're talking about. It's test subject, and you get a lot of extra gas, so at the end of the game, you can still do some nonsense.
I guess it's just test subject seance, right? Because you get another test subject back, and then when the one on board dies, it gives you another seance.
Yeah. It's some sort of copying mechanism, or like...
Oh, no, that just gives you the same amount of stuff back.
I've seen something. I've seen like Divine Spirits and Inner Fires included.
Yeah.
Just ways to steal a game. I mean, that's the nature of a combo deck, is it kind of flounders around until it has its ideal turn, and it goes, oops, I won.
Oops, all victories.
That to me is really like the standout marquee of this Chef Priest deck, is it doesn't really do anything until the end of the game.
When it does everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for Pavel, thankfully, this hand is much more like what you're looking for. Just having Gadgetzan Auctioneer in your starting hand will make it so much easier for him. Still very difficult.
I'll amend my statement. The deck does nothing. It's doing nothing right now.
All right, not it will do or has done nothing. Currently, nothing is being done.
That's what it's doing.
Yes.
Nothing.
Absolutamente nada.
I wonder.
He's got to do something here, though, or else he's going to burn a card.
Nothing generally doesn't work in Hearthstone. As a rough rule of thumb, if you do nothing, you'll lose.
Yeah, it's a pretty strange situation to be in. Like, there have been combo decks over time that, kind of effectively do nothing. Like, Freeze Mage, for instance. That deck really did a lot of nothing for the first 7 or 8 turns of the game.
Fair enough. I mean, that was the power of Ice Block, right?
Yeah.
But here we see Pavel, obviously his hand size rapidly filling up, feeling like he needs to do something before next turn's, the Uber turn next turn with Gadgetzan Auctioneer Coin and all them cheap spells as well.
I will be
They're
curious.
just getting something on the board here.
I will be curious to see if he uses coin or saves it. So, you know, he has an ooze that can just hits Super Collider, which isn't ideal. But it's just something. You get a card out of your hand, you get to draw an extra card from the coin.
I mean, it depends on what he draws off the auctioneer, right? If he finds a second auctioneer in those other cards, he might save it.
I'm a bit worried about
Otherwise, he'll play it.
I'm a bit worried about the use of Wild Pyromancer in that situation, because where is he going to get a board clear now?
Okay, fair enough. Wait, so he's switched over to his secondary deck, which does not have Mass Hysteria in there, which, okay, I can see where you're coming from. Maybe he should have just thrown away one of his less powerful
Just
spells.
think of the ooze. You know, obviously he wants to hit Wrench Caliber with that card, but your opponent has not played Wrench Caliber yet, so they have to draw it. And I think when you're playing these kinds of combo decks, you do have to understand where you're at and decide to take those kinds of risks. At some point, you have to go, you know what, it's not going to work.
It's a good point. He does find the second one, however, to help him deal with that situation. But I fully understand your point that the Wild Pyromancer is how you clear the board. I mean, I guess he's thinking, I'm just not going to clear the board for the whole game. I'm just going to try and draw so quickly that I can get these Grave Horrors down before I need to clear.
I think part of it, too, is he's going to draw a lot of cards. So he anticipates finding another copy of Wild Pyromancer at some point. There is only a lone ooze in the deck, so I understand the thought. And unwilling to expend the Lazul scheme in regards to the Wild Pyromancer turn that's upcoming.
Yeah, makes sense. Obviously, the Circle of Healing as well can be used to draw not just one card, but more than one card, dare I say, with the Northshire Cleric and Wild Pyro.
Seven.
Yeah, Casie here showing his willingness to just throw down his minions on curve, no matter whether they're getting the optimal effect or not. He just needs to keep the pressure up while he can.
Here we go.
Denying the armor as well. Pretty nice. We saw Casie getting up to absurd amounts of health last game, so Pavel making any maneuvers he can to stop that is very nice.
Ooh.
So Divine Hymn draws 2 cards. Arguably want to save that for when you're going for heal to actually get the healing on your hero. To counteract the bomb damage that you will inevitably be getting later in the game.
He really has to think about hero power first here, because he wants to clear off the rest of these minions, but he really needed to utilize this second Wild Pyromancer super effectively, and right now that's not the case.
He's just letting it die.
And it's because of hand size. He's going to draw up to 10 cards with this Circle of Healing because, I'm sorry, up to 9 cards with the Circle of Healing, excuse me. And that strands the Acolytes as being just natural draws after they get damaged.
And this really does, yet again, demonstrate Pavel's priorities with this deck, which is draw over removal pretty much every time. By throwing down the Pyro early on and double-powered shielding, he wanted to get more 0-mana spells for his Gadgetzan Auctioneer. Here, he didn't want to clear with the Wild Pyro. He wanted to draw with it to go up to the maximum amount of cards possible in his hand.
And look at that play. Oh, won ya. Spent 5 mana on that first damage.
That is just the ultimate display of dominance. Super Collider to the face. I still remember in one of the Hearthstone Global games last year where Hunter Ace for Team Norway could have set up 2-turn lethal with a Super Collider swing to the face, but did not opt to take it, and it was one of the saddest moments of my casting career. Here we go, Pavel launching off with the Gadgetzan Auctioneer, trying to get down to that Chef Nomi by the next turn if he can, and it's looking like he will.
Double Mountain Giant found as well, so...
Yeah, not actually that good.
Well, this prompts some action. So Casie has, you know, the goods here, I'd say. It's it's Big Game Hunter, it's a Shield Slam.
I've got the beast in
I mean, even just a hit with the weapon would have been... Yeah, I guess he doesn't want to take the damage. Save that for later on.
Right, he could have Shield Slammed the Auctioneer and used the Super Collider.
Yes.
I think this is much more efficient.
Wondering whether he wants to kill the Auctioneer at all, which is a very valid consideration. Obviously, because Pavel still has 3 cards left in deck after he draws, of course, I think that's enough time that it buys you to kill off the Auctioneer there. Because with only one Acolyte in the deck,
Whoa.
not even that much draw.
Oh!
I've got the beast in my soul.
Oh! I didn't know you could do that!
I didn't even consider that.
Seance can hit opposing minions? I didn't know that!
You didn't know that? Oh,
No.
Well, I knew it could do that. I didn't even think that you'd hit a blowing big game hunter with it.
Hoisted by his own petard! Why would the big game hunter do that to its own Blastmaster?
It's a Seance. It's like, it's a spirit big game hunter. So it's a ghost now.
This is a trip down memory lane for me.
Pavel doing a fantastic job of clearing off the board there. Obviously, we can see Casie still very much in the driving seat in this game, to be perfectly honest. Clears off the board here as Pavel draws through to the end of his deck. Double Clockwork Goblin's probably just going to kill him.
Yep.
But, you know, it's not over.
Good old big game hunter.
Here's another one. Oh, man. It's almost taking me back to the good old days. Still 5 mana, it doesn't have quite the same feel to it.
And an Elec. To add insult to injury, Pavel. He's put up a good fight here, but gosh darn it, it's just not enough.
It really just is not. No more board clears left. Chef Nomi, he is just going to die should he play that. With Lilith. That's it.
Is technically alive through bombs. I'm sorry, through the board.
Which is why he has to go for this play and pray that the brawl isn't there. But clearly we can see Casie, whatever, taking it the slow way, just showing Pavel that he had all the cards he needed.
Going for the
no
double
matter
brawl
what.
victory.
Whatever.
The double brawl victory. And immediately stuffed as the first 3 minions out of the pool. All belong to Casie here. But it matters not. Pavel cannot win the game. Concedes, and Casie, smooth 2-0 victories, back-to-back matches for him.